The NCAA has charged Tennessee's football program with 18 Level 1 alleged rules violations, the most severe under its rules for impermissible recruiting benefits totaling about $60,000 that were paid to prospects and players under former head football coach Jeremy Pruitt. Among other allegations, Pruitt is accused of providing about $9,000 to the mothers of two prospects, and his wife Casey is accused of making 25 cash payments totaling about $12,500 to help a prospect's mother make her car payment. There is an interesting angle here. Jeremy Pruitt's wife Casey worked in NCAA compliance at two different universities. Including Florida State. Tennessee fired Jeremy Pruitt in January of 2021 after its internal investigation into the allegations. Tennessee is not charged with lack of institutional control because of its cooperation with NCAA investigators and its integrity in handling the misconduct. The NCAA charged Tennessee with failure to adequately monitor its football program's arrangement of unofficial visits and to ensure compliance with NCAA recruiting legislation. They charged Pruitt with failing to promote an atmosphere of compliance and failure to monitor his staff. He's also charged with violating NCAA principles of ethical conduct when he knowingly arranged, offered, and provided prospective and enrolled student athletes and their family members or individuals associated with the same with improper inducements and extra benefits in the form of impermissible entertainment and cash payments to numerous individuals. The NCAA says Pruitt did not demonstrate that he monitored his staff or promoted an atmosphere of compliance within the football program when at least a dozen of his staff members were involved in more than 200 individual violations of NCAA legislation over a 2-year time period, as detailed in allegations numbers 1 through 9. As evidenced by the number of staff members involved and the nature of the violations, J. Pruitt failed to demonstrate that compliance was a shared responsibility or establish clear expectations that all coaches and staff members comply with NCAA rules, etc., etc.
Yeah, and the first text we get on this is, isn't that all legal now? That's the thing that needs to be established in the discourse around this, because I've seen a lot of, this is weird in the NIL world to charge Tennessee with stuff like this. Everything that I read is still against the rules. Everything. A coach can't just pay recruits right now. That's why you have collectives and boosters and stuff. Everything that is alleged here is still against the few rules that are left. You absolutely can. I don't think they will, but the NCAA absolutely can, even in the NIL era, punish Tennessee because their coach's wife was paying rent for people. Because they took recruits or paid for recruits to go to the Ripley's Believe It or Not aquarium in
Chattanooga?
No, not Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg.
Oh, Gatlinburg.
Yeah, that was one of them. Dan Patrick.
I mean, is that something that will help convince you to go to their school?
I know, that's weird recruiting strategy, right? There was a lot of McDonald's in there. Now, they couldn't place cash in the McDonald's bags, but there was hundreds of dollars worth of McDonald's given to players impermissibly. This is incredibly stupid, and they should be shot to the moon for it. This is Will Wade all over again. How stupid are you? Yeah. Jeremy Pruitt and Mrs. Pruitt. Although respect to him for having a wife that's a ride or die like that. Not only is she into football, but she's into paying recruits. It's a good woman right there. But all of this is still against the rules, and they should, probably won't, but they should be shot to the freaking moon for this.
Look, I have, frankly, blocked out a lot of what happened in the Ole Miss NCAA investigation. Like, it's there in my mind somewhere, and there are parts that I remember. But I had to go back and pull up a couple of stories. I was kind of doing the whole compare and contrast thing. You think about the penalties that Ole Miss got. Some people think they were far too severe. Some people think they weren't nearly severe enough. Whatever. There were 15 level 1 violations that were handed down to Ole Miss. Tennessee has been accused of 18 Level 1 violations. If I remember correctly, the total monetary value associated with the 15 Level 1 violations for Ole Miss was
over $30,000. But that
okay.
it wasn't that wasn't money. It was all the value of everything they found. But they found just over $30,000.
So you're looking at about half of the monetary value. The difference being it was benefits for versus actual cash paid. Ole Miss received lack of institutional control. Tennessee has not been charged with lack of institutional control. There was a lot of talk about exemplary cooperation by Ole Miss. The NCAA did not see it as such, partly because, and I don't know if this has ever really been told or not, Ole Miss kind of pushed back a lot early, and they were very, no, this didn't happen until it was evident that a lot of it actually did happen.
That's true.
And there's one incident in particular.
Yeah. The relationship with the chief investigative officer from the NCAA in charge of the Ole Miss case was not made to feel welcome by Hugh Freeze. Is that a fair way to put it?
That's a good way to put it.
Very politically correct there.
Yeah, so, apparently when Tennessee's chancellor, Donde Plowman, became involved with this, she kind of ran the Tennessee investigation side of it. And she said, we're going to cooperate and we're going to be forthright. And they were very proactive in getting rid of Jeremy Pruitt, even though he threatened to, air out receipts and sue the university and all of those things. And now this comes down from the NCAA. And Chancellor, Athletics Director, they're all saying the right stuff that goes along with this. I guess the point in all of this is, outside of the lack of institutional control, the allegations against Tennessee and the monetary value attributed to those allegations are both more than what Ole Miss dealt with. And I bring Ole Miss up because I think it's the most recent high-profile NCAA investigation involving an SEC team.
That has come to a conclusion, yes.
Yes, that is completely over. Ole Miss is back to its full share of conference revenue. They are off probation. All of those things have come to an end. You do have ongoing investigations, obviously, as it pertains to LSU. Is there anybody else right now that we're anticipating, or is it just LSU right now? I think it's just LSU.
I believe that's it.
On the SEC
so.
For football?
South Carolina had an assistant in basketball, but I don't think the school that was something weird, and the school's not culpable.
Is Auburn all done for football, for basketball?
I think Auburn is done. Look, when it was all said and done, the biggest penalty for Ole Miss, far and away, was the monetary piece related to not being eligible for the postseason for 2 years. They had to take a half share of revenue for 2 years because they weren't eligible for the postseason. And that was a lot of money. That's your college football fix.